name is Alexis Vassalotti, and I'm going to be talking about the ESL strategy of choral reading. The purpose of choral reading is to help students build confidence, fluency, comprehension, and motivation. Students are given the ability to read aloud with others, providing thinking and discussion. It also helps build upon speaking, reading, and listening proficiencies. The materials needed for choral reading is a copy of a book or poem for all the students and the teacher, and a place to read. I have chosen beginner and intermediate English language learners because they are going to need the most scaffolding and strategies to comprehend read-alouds. English language learners of these proficiencies in kindergarten through first grade need stories to be read in chunks with visual support in order to comprehend the story. The TEKs I have selected are from the English Language Arts and Reading first grade. Students will be able to listen actively, ask relevant questions to clarify information, and answer questions using multi-word responses. The student will be expected to use illustrations and text to clarify word meanings. The student is also expected to read grade-level text with fluency and comprehension. The student is expected to use appropriate fluency, rate, accuracy, and prosody when reading grade-level texts. The content objectives for choral reading is I can follow along with my teacher using my finger, I can listen to the teacher, I can ask questions about the story, I can use visuals to answer questions, I can read aloud with my classmates using fluency, accuracy, and prosody, and I can demonstrate comprehension of the story by answering questions. I have chosen the ELPs of speaking, reading, and listening for choral reading. For speaking, students will use vocabulary and narration in classroom communication. For reading, students will read linguistically accommodated content and use visuals and contextualized supports to read text. Students will be able to show comprehension of English text in groups and individually. Lastly, for listening, students will use visual, contextual, linguistic support to confirm and enhance understanding. The language objective I have written is what a student should be able to say before, during, and after choral reading. The student should be able to say, I can orally read a story with my group members and teacher. I can listen and repeat the story read aloud. I can demonstrate comprehension by answering questions based off text evidence and visuals. I can say, the answer is blank because the book said blank, and the student will point to where the answer is. The student could also say, the answer is blank because the picture shows, and explain what the picture represents. Students will be able to read a short story aloud with group members and a teacher. Students will use text evidence and visuals in group discussion to defend answers showing their comprehension. I am now going to describe the steps of choral reading. The first step is for the teacher to heterogeneously group his or her students in groups of 5 or 6. There could be 1 to 2 native English speakers, 1 beginner or intermediate English language learner, 1 advanced or advanced high English language learner, and then another student of their choice. Then the teacher will call the group together and provide each student and themselves a copy of the story or poem. The teacher could also provide the English language learners a translation of the story or poem in their native language. This is an example poem about tomatoes. There is also a translated version on the side. There should also be a visual to accompany the poem. Before reading, the teacher should activate students' background knowledge by asking questions about tomatoes. Then the teacher will read a short portion of the text. While the teacher is reading, the student should follow along with their fingers. Then the students will read the same exact text. This process will repeat itself over. Throughout the story, the teacher can stop to ask questions to check for comprehension, as well as asking questions afterwards. The students should be allowed to work with one another. This strategy is appropriate for English language learners because they're getting to practice speaking English in a low-risk, comfortable environment. When everyone is reading, it would be difficult for someone to notice a small mistake the English language learner might make. This will help keep their affective filter lower and give them the confidence to keep reading. This is part of the affective filter hypothesis. The heterogeneous grouping of students is also appropriate because the advanced ELLs can help the beginner ELLs and will also help English language learners in their reading skills. Providing a translated version of a story or poem will also help the English language learner because first language influences second language. It will also help with word recognition and pronunciation. Lastly, I believe choral reading can help move students who are at the speech emergence stage to the intermediate fluency stage. At the speech emergence stage, students are learning to communicate by putting together words to form sentences and phrasings. Students will practice this skill in choral reading as With enough choral reading practice, students could progress towards the intermediate fluency stage.